Hi everybody, you're watching Supercross Live, the official pre-show fueled by Monster Energy. Kevin Barnett and Jim Holley on a beautiful morning here in Utah in Salt Lake City, Rice-Eccles Stadium on the campus of the University of Utah. And Jim, round 16 of Supercross, and we're into that Western Regional Supercross Lights class. I wanted to ask you first off about the experience that a lot of these riders had riding the 450 class. We talked about it going out of San Diego, what some of these guys were going to do. Some were going to ride, some weren't. It seemed like that was a huge benefit to the riders that did have some experience over that long break. 3 of the top 5 last week in Seattle finished with 450 experience.
Except for the guy who won, Sipes.
That's right.
He was supposed to ride that 450, but unfortunately an injury, and you know, he didn't ride it, but he came out and he won last week. So I mean, that kind of throws that theory out the window, you know. But I mean, I don't know, you know, I think it's always good to stay racing, you know. Nico Izzy, you know, he said, you know, I thought he was going to come back to the lights, but he's going to ride a 450 outdoors. So he says, I'm not even going to go back to the lights. I'll just stay on the 450. But
right.
It's interesting. I mean, you know, last year it worked for Seeley in Seattle because, you know, he rode that 450 for Honda, and then he came back and he won Seattle. This year here in 2012, we had Sipes who he was off, had an injury and didn't ride a 450 and comes away with a win. But I guarantee you tonight here in Salt Lake City, it's going to be a knockdown, drag out brawl. And you know, last year Eli Tomac came in here and he was battling with Hansen for that championship fight. This year he's battling with Dean Wilson, and last year Hansen goes down and didn't gain a lot of points. Eli had a great race here last year, so I mean, anything can happen. And I mean, Eli's been in that position before, and Wilson's been in that position before. He's won championships, so these guys are going to bang on each other tonight, I have a feeling. But don't count out Cole Seeley. I mean, he's still in the championship hunt. If he can possibly get a win here, puts himself in a great position for Las Vegas.
Okay, so Tomac with a 4-point lead. Seeley, as you mentioned, 15 back, still has an outside chance. I thought both guys after last week's race really reacted to it well. Both of them seemed to have the view that it was just racing, and that Tomac said, hey, Wilson earned it. Wilson said, hey, I raced him hard. There was a lot of talk back and forth, but it didn't seem like anything that was going to carry over to this week and be anything that was developing into a rivalry or some sort of spiteful attack to each other.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's just, I mean, it's a championship. I mean, you're not going to give it to the guy. I mean, these guys are both fighters. They're going to fight for that thing, and they got 2 more rounds to fight it out.
Yeah, I know you like that. When I talk to you, you like that rough ride, and you say if somebody gets in the way, you put them over the berm.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's if the door is going to be left open, and both riders are going to have to, you know, be looking over their eyes. I mean, if a guy's going to come underneath you and take you over the berm, you need to pull up and let him go and not make any contact, because, I mean, Eli Tomac last weekend with that shifter, I mean, that could have been a busted case, and that could have been horrible for him.
All right, great racing going to happen tonight in that Western Regional Supercross Lights class. Let's move over to the Supercross class. And Jim, there's always reasons to watch the race. In the beginning of the season, it's the excitement of the unknown. Who's going to win? Who's going to be on top? Who are going to be the real favorites coming into the season? Middle of the season, many times it's the championship chase and watching a champion and his dominance. It was that way with Ryan Villopoto for a while. And now with Villopoto out indefinitely, or at least through perhaps Monster Energy Cup in October, the door is open. Now someone can get a win. Andrew Short last week, of course, stepped up, got his first ever Supercross victory. Who do you think is going to step up this week and have a possibility to pick up their first victory, or maybe a second?
Well, any number of those guys. I mean, the guy who finished second, hopefully he's on that 350. That's Ken Roxon, another guy that's been on the podium. Both guys, actually, Davey Millsaps and Justin Brayton, and Weimer for that matter. I mean, all these guys know that, hey, if Andrew did it last week, I can do it this week in Salt Lake City and possibly Vegas. It's unfortunate that, you know, Villopoto's out, and like you said, hopefully October 20th, he'll make it to that Monster Energy Cup. That, you know, I'm sure he'd like to defend that title. You know, he picked up $1 million last year for that. But, you know, anytime you win a Supercross race, good things happen to you, and good things happen to Andrew Short. He's got a new sponsor, Chaparral. I saw in the pits, the semi's back and everything. So, you know, Dave Dameron and the guys down at Chaparral said, hey, let's pick this team up. And so they got a sponsor out of the win also.
Does the motivation change for these guys that have not won a race, and now they know for sure it's open? Dungey is not quite himself last week, and Villopoto out. Lots of the other top contenders not there. Do these guys ride it differently than they would have had Villopoto remained?
You know, I don't know. You know, I mean, anything can happen. You know, there's only one guy, Villopoto. You're talking Reed's out, Stewart's out.
Right.
You know, all these other guys, Trey Kennard's out. So they're looking at one guy. Yeah, maybe Villopoto's the guy, but as you saw last week, things happen to the champion. Doesn't matter if you're the champ. You get a bad start and you put yourself in a bad position in the back of the pack. Things happen back there, and unfortunately for Villopoto, he's out, and these guys are saying, hey, it's my turn to shine.
All right, we're thinking about tonight here in Salt Lake, and of course next week the finale in Vegas. But then beyond that, we're also thinking about the Monster Energy Cup coming up in Vegas again in the fall, Jim.
Yeah, October 20th, Sam Boyd Stadium. I'm excited for that. The second year, we're going to go back to Vegas for the Monster Energy Cup, and Team Honda, Eric Keogh said, "Hey, Honda's going to be there." I don't know who our riders are going to be at that point, but
yeah,
we'll be there. But some of the guys, like you had mentioned, Villopoto's already signed up, and hopefully after that knee surgery, he can heal up, and that'll be his first race back. We're hoping that'll happen. And then Andrew Short said, "I'm going to ride it." Grant says, "Well, if Short's going to ride it, I'm going to ride it." Weimer says, "Well, I'm riding it." So Kyle Chisholm says, "I'm going to ride it." So I mean, a lot of guys already signing up for that because they saw exactly, someone came away with $1 million last year, and it's a pretty cool track to ride. And the thing that I like about the Monster Energy Cup is, from a rider's standpoint, is it gets you a chance to be on a Supercross track to test that 2013 bike before you head down to Anaheim round 1.
Yeah, it gives you a legitimate chance, a fun event for the fans as well, as the track goes out beyond the stadium, goes up into the stadium, an opportunity for the fans to get really close to the action where they can't at other events. Who do you think is going to win this week here in Salt Lake in that Supercross class? Tell us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/supercrosslive, or get in the conversation on Twitter, twitter.com/supercrosslive. And remember, Cross Club, go to supercrossonline.com, join Cross Club. It is free. The 2013 season going to be announced May 4th. Next week, May 4th, the 2013 season coming out. Remember, Cross Club members get first shot at those 2013 tickets. And Jim, there might be some new sites on the list.
Yeah, I mean, we go to a lot of great cities. I mean, such as, Salt Lake City and Vegas and things like that. But, a lot of guys on Twitter, they're probably tweeting in at what city they want to go to. But it's very important because I think there's going to be some changes to the 2013 schedule. And see if your favorite city's in there.
Great information all day here from Rice-Eccles Stadium here on Supercross Live. We will have a bunch of rider interviews for you. We'll have a post-practice report running down the times of the fast qualifiers. And, of course, we'll have a post-race report. The coverage tomorrow on CBS and on Speed. We'll be here all day. It's going to be a fantastic day. Beautiful. No snow in the forecast here in Salt Lake.